Hey guys, Rachel Brinke, and we need to have a little discussion about some things that I think some of you guys are missing. Some of the fundamentals to marketing strategy and pricing. There are three basics that play into all of this. They actually determine 100% all the actions you're going to take in your business. So let's go ahead and dig into them, and I want you guys to pull out a pen and paper. I want you to make notes, even if you think that you've heard it all before. Let's run through it. Let's be a refresher, because guess what? I've been doing this for over a decade, and these things that I'm about to tell you guys are what I run through every single time I'm going to create a blog post. I'm going to create a video. Every single time that I'm going to reach out and try to work with a local business. These are the things that I walk through to make sure that I'm being as efficient as possible. As you guys know, or hopefully you know, that I definitely put life over business. You guys know I love the snot out of being the CEO and running multiple businesses. I have my hands in multiple pots everywhere, right? Because I love it. But I really put an emphasis on quality of life. I don't want to work in order to live, right? Or live to work, really, I guess is what I should say. I want to work to live, and not in the bad sense. I want the work to be the means to the ends of me getting to be able to live, whatever it is. For me, I compete Ironman triathlons. I spend time with my family. We geocache and we travel. And those are things that are important and we really put an emphasis on. But I couldn't do all that if I put business first, okay? Business is just a means to an end, even though I passionately love business and I could do it all day long. I really do enjoy it. But when I do it, we only have 24 hours. We need to be able to make the time and the decisions that we're doing in the course of our business. The ROI that we're getting of all of our actions needs to be immense. It needs to be huge. It needs to be hard-hitting, okay? And how do I do that? How am I able to manage multiple businesses and still have time to do all it is that I do? Here, I'm going to tell you. This is exactly what you need to run through. Number one, you need to make sure you have a unique selling proposition. Just saying you're a photographer is not enough. Just saying you're a graphic designer is not enough. You need to get very specific, which we're going to talk about more in point number 2, which is the client avatar. But really, what is your unique selling proposition? Many of you probably have created your business because you saw a void in the market, or you saw someone trying to fill a segment of the market, but you thought you could do better, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Be proud if you are doing that. But you need to have what's called a USP, this unique selling proposition. Let's take, for example, the TheLawTog brand, which is the go-to legal resource for photographers. That is a very unique selling proposition. Let's take that and compare to if I just said, I'm a lawyer for creatives. That's a really broad pool. I mean, it is kind of a unique selling proposition, but it's not nearly as niche just when I say I have contracts for photographers. That is a very clear, I'm able to cut through all the noise, because guys, we are in an age where education is immense, where marketing messages are flying all over the place. I mean, print marketing still exist. We see it everywhere, but look at the way that technology has gripped our lives. I mean, even the new iPhone update tells you how much screen time you have. Go take a look at that. That'll be a really transparent thing to show you how much time you're actually spending on your phone. But you're not alone, because the consumers that are buying your products or services are doing the same. But in order to be able to cut through this mass amount of noise, you need to be able to be very specific in your unique selling proposition. And I think now, even more than any other time in business, it is very important. Anybody can set up a Facebook page. Anybody can get a website set up. Anyone can send out an email newsletter. But it's what is in that is going to cut through the noise. Instead of screaming the exact same things, that's what I want you guys to visualize. Close your eyes and think. Everyone's screaming the exact same marketing message. Let's take my example of mine. I will just bear it all out here for you, okay? As TheLawTog, and I've got other legal brands, Fit Legally and such, and I apply this to all of the industries that I'm looking to penetrate and to build a business and a name in. You could have a bunch of lawyers standing around you screaming, I know photography contracts, I do it for creatives, or I'm a general business lawyer, or I do this. That's all gonna be super loud. But I want you to imagine me walking up to you and whispering and going, I am the go-to legal resource for photographers. I know exactly what you're going through because I've been a photographer. I'm also a licensed attorney. I'm also a mom of 5. All of that right now is my unique selling proposition. That's how I'm able to whisper and directly speak to those, which we're going to talk about in number 2, client avatar. But unique selling proposition is 100%. I'm able to cut through all this loud general noise and get very specific with you guys. So number 1, what is your unique selling proposition? You can even use it and frame it as, what is my elevator pitch? When I go out, I'm at my kids' preschool, or I'm just at a local chamber of commerce event, what is it I tell people that I do? If you just say you're a photographer, which I shouldn't say just, we shouldn't use that language, but if I say I'm a photographer, they're going to think about it and then it's going to be gone. But if you are very specific in, I photograph for preschools, or I do horse photography, or I do photography for special needs kids, particularly ones with Down syndrome. You see how I'm narrowing it down. Whatever your unique selling proposition is, it needs to be clear and very specific. Now, before I get into the number 2 tip that we need to walk through on this process, I don't want you guys to freak out and think, oh my God, if I'm so narrowed, I'm going to exclude other people. You are, but you aren't. Polarizing people is really good. You don't want to waste your time with other individuals coming to you for a type of business that you don't do. So for example, in all of my channels for TheLawTog, I only talk about photography-based specific things. That's why TheLawTog has its own website, its own Facebook, its own Instagram, and everything, so I can 100% have the messaging. My unique selling proposition is the only thing that is talked about. If I have a more general website and I'm trying to talk about all these different things, it becomes muddled, right? I want to polarize those from my social media websites, from my email list that are not photographers, because I only want to invest in the time of the photographers that I am talking to. Okay? So yes, we are going to polarize some. However, you'll also know, and I want you guys to visualize this as well. I guess we could go ahead and move into number 2. We want to talk to a specific client avatar. What does that mean? I think we have become too lazy in our language, and then we go, well, is that your ideal client? Whenever someone posts an issue in a Facebook group, right? You go, well, is that your ideal client anyways? But we don't really dig into what ideal client means. And for me, I don't like calling it an ideal client. I like saying a client avatar, because an ideal client to me equates that a client has to have all these characteristics that you're looking for. And then you're thinking you are going to polarize everyone else. You're going to be way too specific at that point. Whereas if you take the approach of the client avatar, I'm going to walk you guys through how to develop that in a second, but if you walk through the process of developing a client avatar, then you're having a host of characteristics that can overlap and mix and change up for all the different people that you're wanting to reach that will probably fall into that ideal client that you're talking about, but they're also going to allow it to shift and move, because not everyone is going to have the exact same characteristics. The goal is for those that are attracted to you, not just from your unique selling proposition, that's only part of it, that's why we're on step number 2, but those that are within this client avatar, they're attracted to your USP, your unique selling proposition, but then they also have some of the characteristics that are important to you of who you're trying to talk to. So for example, and this is not an example I haven't shared 100 times before. If you're new to my teachings, then this is really good for you to listen to. If you've heard it before, let's walk through the process together again. You know how well it worked the first time if you actually committed to it. So for my customer avatar, my client avatar, and I use the word avatar, I think about the early days of social media, right? When we had the message forums and all that, like on Yahoo or whatever, you got to pick an avatar. You didn't even have the option of uploading a profile picture. Maybe that's dating me, but that's okay. But for me, I got to choose the avatar of what I thought I looked like or I wanted to look like. Now, I'm not talking about catfishing people, okay? I'm not talking about getting on there and making me completely different than what I am, but it's developing what I believe myself to be or I want people to believe that I am, okay? And that's the same thing for an avatar. So you want to go through and get super specific. I know we just talked about, and I said, with ideal client, we feel like that the client has to have all of those characteristics, and you're thinking, but we're getting so specific, we're not going to have a lot of people, we're going to polarize too many. Stick with me here. Ideal client, let's get that word out of our head and let's focus on this client avatar. I want you guys to run through this process, and you may need to pause the video and come back to it, but please do it. It works, guys. I still do this after over a decade of multiple businesses that have grown successfully. We do this all the time, okay? First, ask ourselves, are we sticking to the messaging of our unique selling proposition? Then number 2, are we talking to our client or customer avatar? And the only way to do that is to develop it through questions like this. Mine's name is Ava the Avatar. That's what I've named her. What does she look like? Where does she live? Is she married? Is she single? Is she a long-term committed relationship? Does she have kids? How old are those kids? How does that impact her? What is her career status? Is she a stay-at-home mom? Is she a working mom? Does she work from home? Does she work out of home? What type of drinks does she like? Is she a water and tea, or is she a coffee and wine? Oh, she's into wine, red or white. What type of red? Oh, okay. When does she prefer to do it? Does she like to have that specific red every single night at dinner, or only on special occasions? Do you guys see how specific I just got? And I ran through it quickly because I know Ava's wants and likes and desires in my head, because I've done this process. I go through and I've written this down. I do it repeatedly over and over to make sure that the person I'm trying to attract hasn't changed, or I don't want them to change, right? I want to make sure that I am still talking to the same person. Going through all those wants, likes, and dislikes. So, unique selling proposition, and then your client avatar or customer avatar. How does that work for you? Guys, when you're creating your marketing, you simply type the title of your blog post and you go, is this target to my USP? Yes. Okay. Will Ava respond well to this? Yeah, I think so. Boom, right there, quickly. I don't have to worry about testing all these headings and just throwing spaghetti noodles on a wall and hoping that they stick. Okay. Unique selling proposition and client avatar works for marketing, works for pricing. It works for your business planning. It works for everything. It even works for when you're wanting to evaluate why something may not be working. Well, you're probably thinking, but you just told me if you went through this, it would work. However, you may implement this and then you may realize you have a drop off in audience. Why is that? Because you may be targeting a new avatar than the avatar you already had. Okay? You may not have realized who you were actually attracting previously. And we're not going to get into this. You can evaluate that through Google Analytics. Will give you all sorts of demographics. You know, it won't give specifics of what type of wine she likes, but you definitely need to make sure that you are reevaluating your audience and your customers and making sure that they're falling into that ideal client, which I hate that terminology, but into this customer avatar. Now back to one of the objections I talked about earlier. You may be thinking, but isn't that going to polarize too many people if I get so specific on USP and so specific on my customer avatar? The answer is no. Here's why. I want you guys to mentally imagine a bell curve, okay? Let's go back to what was like middle school, we learned about bell curves, right? You got all the data and you got your bell curve. And what happens is it's low out here and then you start gathering more numbers, then you got to the top. At the very top is where Ava stands for me. Now, if I was to do an ideal client, then my goal would be to throw a ring and just grab Ava. But my goal is not just to grab Ava. My goal is to grab Ava in all the top of that bell curve. All these individuals or businesses, consumers that have very specific characteristics that are very similar to Ava's. I'm not having to waste time and money and energy trying to advertise and meet the people that are down here on the bell curve, because guess what? They're in characteristics that I don't necessarily want. They're not people that I want to come to my business. I only want those at the top of the bell curve, at the top of the bubble here. Birds of a feather flock together. If you talk to one specific person, you're more likely to gather people that have the same similar characteristics all around that Ava that stands at the very top. Now, why am I bringing this to y'all's attention? Because we're coming up on the end of the year and we're coming up on where people start to freak out. They start to look at what they've done for the last year and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do better. Or they're thinking, okay, I did well, but I want to get even better the next year. I can't tell you guys how under discussed USP and client avatar discussions and the application of them or non-application happens in industries. And it's not just confined to one. I see it everywhere. People sit down and go, I want to do a social media campaign, but I don't know what to talk about. It's super easy if I just sit and think, okay, Ava walked into my office. She was attracted to my unique selling proposition. I can anticipate the question she's going to have. Boom, right there is the blog post that I can write. Okay? I do that for the content I create for you guys. I've got a unique selling proposition and I've got a very specific client avatar. Mine happened to work out that it's someone that's very similar to me. Yours might be a completely opposite, and that's okay. Or they could be partially you and partially not you. That's something you're gonna have to work out on your own. I'm more than happy to help you if you want to dig into my group, and then we can talk about it there. I can help you flush it out a bit more, but it is important you guys work through this entire process. Please commit to doing this. The new year is coming up. Run through this. You may find that it may change. You may find that all your marketing has been polarizing the one that you thought you wanted to attract. It has been attracting the ones you thought you didn't want. And if you're attracting those that don't fit with your core values of your business or where you want to go with your business, you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel tired, and it's just going to not be a good result for you. You're not going to be happy in business. So you need to examine going forward, what is my USP? Who is my client avatar? Is that in line with the efforts that I've been doing this past year? If it is, great. How can I get even more specific and improve upon that? If it's not, how can I change this? Am I going to change my USP and my client avatar to fit the clients or the audience I already have? Or am I just going to try to cut ties, cut bait, and get rid of this old avatar that I didn't like, that I was attracting, and develop a new one? You are the CEO. You get to make the decision. That is the beauty of being in charge. Guys, good luck. Do this. Walk through this. I've just given you some really hard-hitting information that many of you may have glazed over, clicked away, but you know what? Those that have stuck to the end of this video, you're going to be worlds ahead of all of your competitors and all of your colleagues, and I wish you guys best of luck.